Welcome to the Digital Peloton News, episode number 6, September 30th, 2018. Today is a one-topic video where I discuss this: the UCI to create esports rules and world championships. Having represented Australia in the CVR World Cup in both Vegas and London, I'm across the landscape of Zwift and the indoor training experience as an esport, so I thought I'd have a bit of a discussion around the article we've seen published today on Cycling News. Good timing on this article, given it's the World Championships week over in Innsbruck in Austria right now, and Peter Sagan is able to be used as the poster boy, given he's the current world champ, which may not be the case at the end of today. We'll have to tune in and find out. Speaking of tuning in, this is where traditional esports pull their revenue from the viewers, which in turn bring the advertisers, which in turn make the wheels go round. A closer look at the article over here on Cycling News. We could one day see Peter Sagan competing in esport races, says La Partiente. Apologies for my French pronunciation there, it's no good. So the UCI has confirmed it will create an esports world championships and draw up rules for virtual cycling races for digital platforms such as Zwift. Indoor training is taking off. A lot of people are doing it. What you'll see a lot of the time here is the prize pools quoted for any of the esports events, but rarely do you see the business models or the revenue streams discussed in the same articles. It's all about that cash money. The article goes on to state the UCI have attended the IOC Esports Forum, so this is going to be very, very polarizing for a lot of people who believe sports themselves are about physical exertion, not about computer games. But this is where the lines are blurred when it comes to something like indoor racing and esports. Okay, further into the article, Zwift have created a virtual copy of the 2018 Innsbruck World Race Championships. Yes, Zwift has, but also other software companies have done the same, so it's not just Zwift in this case. In a bit of a confusing statement here, the president from the UCI mentions MTB and esports in the same sentence. They're two very, very different things. One is a motorized bike and one is a computer game. I think what they were trying to say there is they're looking at all different avenues for cycling, specifically revenues from cycling. Also, as quoted in the article, we're looking at the future of every aspect of cycling, so we're keen to help virtual cycling develop. We want to ensure it happens properly by creating some clear guidelines and rules, including anti-doping rules. Excellent. They also admit, down here on the last paragraph there, cycling as an esport is different to many other sports as it's not virtual. You have to push the pedals, so it's a physical sport. That's a big differentiation here between traditional computer game esport and something like Zwift as an esport. We could one day see Peter Sagan competing in esport races. I think that would be great for cycling. Interesting. The announcement cites Zwift a number of times, so no doubt if they're pushing it, I assume the revenue stream at the moment pushing that is coming from the subscribers of Zwift. What did the Zwift community have to say about this announcement? Tim Fullard over on Zwift Riders posted up the query, is anybody for virtual rainbow stripes? What are your thoughts? Well, first thoughts was please not, UCI. That's not starting off too good. Did they just equate EMTB to esports? Well, they kind of did, but for a different reason here, two different things. Probably going to ruin everything. Okay, a big step into the future. This should not be at the expense of live racing. No, say it ain't so. Keep the racer boys away from our game. They should stick to cycling. Hayden Martin has a bit of a chuck on the forums there. I knew this was going to happen soon. In no way should they win. Look, very negative statements around there from a community who should be really championing Zwift as the platform for this. Didn't quite go as planned. So the question remains, are people tuning in and watching these physical esports? Well, the numbers indicate they're currently not in this current state. I think the demographic at the moment is all wrong to promote this as a computer game esport. At the moment, what we're seeing is people who have 45 minutes a day, maybe to get that training session in before the kids get out of bed or before the family wakes up, maybe late at night after you've put the kids to bed, maybe during the day, just after work, during your lunch session. They're cramming in these training sessions to be fit for that sportive, maybe to hang on to that bunch ride, maybe hit that century in a few weeks' time. Setting aside additional time to sit down and watch someone else do a glorified spin class just really isn't taking over the world like other esports. Even Peter Sagan himself said cycling is a boring sport to watch on TV. So there's a lot of work to be done here in regards to the engagement and entertainment factor. I think this is where computer games as an esport and physical sports as an esport really separate. They're two very different things. They're not the same. The prize pools will be different. The audience isn't the same. And there's a few reasons for this. The two main factors that I see are the buy-in for a traditional computer game is this. The buy-in for esports cycling is this. And if you want to be competitive at a physical esport, you need to set aside 10 to 15 hours a week, assuming you're blessed with an above average oxygen uptake capacity. Yes, you need to live and breathe cycling to be any good at it. Make no mistake, this is a very, very hard sport to be involved with. A quote that I read a while ago, I'll put up here, which I love. It's, in cycling, you need to train hard just to be shit. Yes, that's the reality. If cycling was easy, everyone would be doing it. So those two factors aside, will these new rules and regulations and world championships from the UCI translate into an entertaining esport? Well, I think that's going to take a lot of work. We need the ninjas of the computer gaming world to be able to beat the Sagans of the real cycling world. At the moment, Sagan can just jump on and beat us with his eyes closed. The gamification of these platforms really needs to be brought ahead in leaps and bounds. This is definitely a brand new space and there are all brand new problems to work on, which according to the article here, they're being worked through at the moment. This isn't the first attempt at rules and regulations around esports and virtual cycling events. I've worked with Hells 500 about 3 years ago to ratify the V-Everesting rules here. This is where riders compete a ride and ascend over 8,848, the height of Mount Everest, in one single ride with the elevation gain. This instance though, it's about the personal achievement and yourself, not a business revenue model. But there's one age-old problem that doesn't change in cycling and sport in general, and that's cheating. Plugging the UCI into this to ratify the rules and regulations is a good move. They've already set up for that, whether you agree with their policies or not, they do have policies in place. So rather than recreating that, reinventing the wheel, the esports cycling side of things can plug into the UCI rules and regulations and go on about fixing the other stuff. The other stuff is the other half of the picture, and that's the equipment used. At this point in time, indoor training equipment is never ever designed for esports. I've no doubt one of the revenue streams being discussed for this physical esport of cycling is betting and gambling. If that's the case, then there's going to need to be a true rethink from the ground up in the hardware currently used. The in-person cycling events we're seeing these days do make me a little nervous. Any of the equipment being used at this point in time can be modified and manipulated by using something as simple as a mobile phone. So again, this is the reason why if there's betting and big money involved, everything needs to be redesigned from the ground up. And my final note on this one, it's just Zwift that's been mentioned in this article. I hope the UCI are looping in other parties and contributors for this, as it runs the risk of being labelled a commercial venture for Zwift themselves, rather than progressing the sport into the future of the digital world. There we are, very interesting article, very interesting times. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. I'm tuning in, are you? Let me know below. Thanks for watching.